Hello, users, and welcome to another episodic installation of Above It All, the series where I talk about how the world is fucked and I just kind of want to blog about it until the fucking fires come. So, Goldman Sachs, which the reason I'm doing this one is because I find this interesting because I would assume that Goldman Sachs and other corporate interests aren't necessarily going to be the ones that would want to be this honest. And that's why I find this more interesting. So, Goldman Sachs here has they previously stated that the unemployment rate would peak at around 15%. It doesn't exactly say where that previous projection was previously. But annual data, which goes back to 1929, shows the unemployment rate peaked during the Great Depression at an average of 24.9% in 1933. Now, obviously, it's been escalating a lot. It spiked to about 15% in April, and it's only going to get higher. Now, the thing with the unemployment rate that's really hard to track is, especially in the modern economy, when we have lots of people that say work for Uber, gig workers, the gig economy, self-employed people, like that kind of stuff has really kind of taken off. People that don't necessarily have a job, but are like private contractors, in the eyes of the law. And so this kind of tries to account for that. The so-called real jobless rate, which captures the percentage of Americans who want a job but have given up on trying to find one, surged to 22.8% in April. That was up from just 8.7% the month before. Goldman Sachs warned Wednesday that the real jobless rate will peak at 35%, up from the bank's previous projection of a peak of 29%. So this is the thing. I do think that they're kind of releasing these studies to try to get Congress to bail them out more, which Nancy Pelosi has been trying to do. So it's just kind of like, one of those things. But this is dangerous. This is really bad news because the Trump administration is still pretending like this is not the case. And they're using these numbers not to try to fix the problem, but to fuel their AstroTurf protests and say, like, people just need to get back to work, goddamn! And now here's the thing that's super terrible about this is a lot of the high-level industries, a lot of the rich people industries, have successfully converted. For example, I think Twitter has said that they don't ever really need anyone to have come into an office again, and they can just operate remotely forever now. So a lot of people with these stable jobs are going to be operating remotely, and they're fine. Now, the most people, when the country reopens, I'll say this again, it's mostly poor people who need to go out and find a job and get work. And those poor people, that's why they're more disproportionately affected and hospitalized by the coronavirus. Now, you look at the unemployment rate, right? The whole reason they're reopening is because they want to force people to have to choose, do I want to go back to work and risk my life, or do I want to stay home and lose my unemployment benefits? That's a choice that people are being forced to make because of these stupid-ass fucking decisions where people are going, let's go back to work. This is going to have absolutely fatal consequences. It's going to be terrible. It's going to be absolutely horrendous. I really just don't understand. And they say at the bottom of this article, and I didn't highlight that because it was whatever, but they say that this could affect our economy for at least a decade, that the chances of getting back below these numbers, back below the April unemployment rate, the March unemployment rate, it's probably going to take around a decade to deal with. So the pandemic itself is probably going to last upwards of 18 months before we have a functional vaccine. 18 months, not 18 weeks, not 18 days. We're not going to be ready to go back to fucking the beaches in summer, right? We are going to have an extended societal massive change that could very well lead to a societal collapse. I mean, who fucking knows at this point? But this is a massive change. People that are used to going outside are going to have to learn a new way to go about themselves. Now, me personally, I'm kind of an indoor person. I like going outside for exercise purposes, but I haven't really done that in my new neighborhood ever since I moved to North Carolina because there's a lot of creepy people here, and if I ever leave the house, I feel like I need a chaperone. And, at that point, I'd rather just do something on the elliptical machine. But there are a lot of people, very social. You go out to bars, you party. There's a lot of people that go shopping all the time. We're going to have to, this is a mandatory transition to online shopping and online everything. And it's bizarre. This is bizarre. We're living in a really bizarre time, and I feel like the majority of the population hasn't really come to terms with this yet. I feel like most people you talk to are just kind of like in a fundamental stasis. Like they just kind of like, all right, things will go back to normal soon, right? And they just don't think about it. But like this is going to affect our society for at least 18 months. Like that's the absolute minimum, right? Until we can have anything that's actually going to turn course here. And then like that the 18-month to 36 months are going to be like a recovery phase. And then after that, like it's hard to project that far out because this is such unprecedented timeline, and of course who knows who the president will be. And so like this is just if it, this is a disaster, man. I don't know, man. This is a disaster. I'm fully expecting a complete and utter disaster, and this is why my whole thing is I'm just gonna sit at home, play video games, and fucking do marijuana all day, because might as well enjoy the last few weeks of our lives. That's my opinion. But yeah, stay safe out there. Again, if you have anyone in your community that, a friend that you went to high school with you haven't talked to in like 6 years, give them a ring. Ask them how they're doing. If you know anybody who's elderly and who can't leave their house too easily as it is, knock on their door, give them a ring, ask them like, hey, I'm going to the grocery store on Tuesday. Do you want me to get you anything? Try to be nice to the people in your community, or like, at least your family, because like this is definitely a situation that's going to be reverberating throughout our society for a very long time. And so we're going to have to start making these social bonds if we want to have any chance, any hope or prayer of getting out of this disaster alive. Which, I mean, honestly, at this point, I don't even know. Like, it might all just be a waste of time. Who knows? I don't know. But I'm trying to be positive. I'm trying to be an optimist. I'm really trying, but this does not look good. So, oops. Stay inside, y'all. Be safe. Don't be a dumbass. Reminder, this is not just the flu. And if you think it is, and I mean, I don't know, man. What a story, though. Like, Fox News building an alternate timeline, culminating in a pandemic where you have like 30% of the population that just literally doesn't believe in it. Like there's just like this isn't like the fucking 16th century, right? We have the germ theory of disease, right? We have like medical science that can pinpoint where these things are, how they spread. We have epidemiologists who can tell you how it track traces from one person to another, contagiousness, how it aerosols, for example, how are the highest rate of infection. Like when you have like a sunbeam coming in from your window and you see like a bunch of dust and you go like, holy shit, wow, it's dirty in here. Those are aerosols. Those are very likely to contain contaminated droplets of like when you breathe or when you talk or whatever. Like we have all this information, and then you have 30% of the population that just doesn't believe in it. And it's like, right? Like we're fucked. We're fucked. We're fucked. Like, hello? Like, hello? I can't think of a way out of this. If y'all can come up with some way out of this, let me know, because I have no clue. As far as I'm concerned, this is just an absolute disaster.